Welcome to the Fresh Inspiration Show with founder and host Rhonda Liebig, energy revitalizer and mindset freedom coach and #1 best-selling author. We are here to freshly inspire you, uplift you, and transform you with our unique mindset transformation entertainment show. Get ready as we kick it into high gear, arousing your motivation in lifestyle, vitality, and business. But before we walk through the threshold and start the Fresh Inspiration Show, take a deep breath. Check in. What is your level of belief in you to conquer this new world? And then do yourself a favor. Before you exit our show, ask yourself, what is your level of transformation? Because we know if you believe it, you can achieve it. And that's why the biggest, best, and boldest inspirers are here for you right now. Buckle up. Yeah, you've got this.
Fresh inspiration. Fresh inspiration. Fresh inspiration. Fresh inspiration.
Debbie Ternes is a person that was at this point in her life where she knew that this is the time to get out there and do what she loves doing. When I met Debbie a year ago, she was working for someone that she was also coaching. And I found her to be very powerful. But she was living dual life here. And I knew that she was ready to jumpstart exactly what she's doing, what she's been doing for all these years to help others. And it came a point this year where she was like having time off from work. And she realized that she's going all in 100%. Anybody else been in that transition where you're working for somebody and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm done with that. So let's welcome in Debbie and let's get to know her more and her confidence and relationship. Debbie, where are you at, my friend?
Thank you so much, Rhonda. I'm so happy to be here with you and the other ladies. I love that you started it off in that way because I was working full time and then it got to the point where my time was being cut at work. And I actually got laid off from my job right before the corona apocalypse, as Janet put it. But what was really fascinating, Rhonda, was that for the year before, I had been putting on my vision board that I wanted to be self-employed. And I had gone to another vision board class, and the facilitator, one of my teachers, she had each of us write on our vision board the actual date that we wanted this to all happen for us. And I had put on there that I wanted it to happen before my next birthday. So my next birthday is coming up in August. Well, the universe is very supportive and sometimes responds very quickly. And 6 days later, after my vision board workshop, was the day that I was released from my job. So it was one of those kind of like, like be careful what you ask for, right? Because holy mackerel, like that happened faster than I expected. And I was relieved and like super excited about what was unfolding for me. So I really, like you said, I've been coaching as kind of my side gig for the last 15 years. Wow. I love coaching. I never, didn't really have the confidence at the time to just kind of just jump into it. And I'm still working on it. So, it's unfolding really beautifully. And, the pandemic has really put me in a position to launch some things that my coaching friend Sherry and I have been talking about for 2 years. We were talking about doing workshops for friendships because friendships are so important, in our lives, from the support standpoint, from helping us learn to communicate better with one another. And so we ended up, not only did I start coaching full time or dedicating myself full time to my coaching practice, right? But we launched a Facebook group called Authentic Friendships. And we started doing workshops, and we have a program coming up as well. So many brilliant things have come out of this really challenging time, but it hasn't always been easy. I know you mentioned before, I was in an abusive marriage, and I was married for 17 years, and coaching was the thing that helped me build my courage. It gave me the skills and tools, working with a coach, going through a coaching program to help me become a coach, because I loved the work so much. I wanted to help more people. So I was married for 17 years. One of the things that kind of kept me there, obviously, was the verbal abuse, right? You get beat up and you just really I had no confidence whatsoever. My circle was very, very small, because that's part of it as well. I had 3 kids. I had no job, right? So I felt very, very stuck. And it was my second marriage. So I was also caught up in the belief that, oh my gosh, if I get divorced the second time, like, what kind of loser am I that I can't figure out how to make this work, right? The stigma of that. And through my personal work, I know that Maria was talking a lot about, if you don't do your own inside work, it's hard to change the outside, right? And Janet was speaking to that as well. And I did a lot of inside work preparing to leave, because I knew that it was going to be not only uncomfortable, but potentially dangerous as well. During that period, you guys were talking about thyroids and stuff, right? When I was 30, I got mono. So here I have a 10-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 1-year-old, and I get diagnosed with mono. Working part-time, taking care of my kids. I was sick for 3 months with mono. And right after that was diagnosed with Graves' disease, which is the underactive thyroid, right? So you were talking about speaking up, right? Clearly, I was unable to speak up at that time. And it just all, kind of all came together. It was really, really interesting and fascinating how all of those things helped me get to the point where I learned the new, I built up my confidence. I built up my circle of friends. I built up my support network in a really big way, because I needed support in so many different areas. And I was able to leave. Unfortunately, my one son was grown and I had already moved out. My 2 younger children were teenagers at the time that I left, and they didn't want to come with me. So they chose to stay with their father. This was a really, really difficult time for me, knowing that I was leaving my children behind. But I knew, Rhonda, that I had to save myself. I knew I could not stay there anymore. It was literally killing me, like inside, like it was killing me. The really big challenge with that was the judgment. There were a lot of people who believed that I abandoned my children. And, you talked earlier about how, like, heartfelt and how that's how you experience me. At the time when I was going through all that, I was so shut down. I was usually seen as harsh, cold, unapproachable. And really it was like my safety, right, to stay that way, because when you're in a relationship that is abusive, if you reveal your vulnerability and if you're transparent, those things typically are used against you later on. And so you start shutting down. And so in that shutting down, right, you start pushing people out of your life. And it's through all the work that I've really been doing, really accepting and being able to show up as my authentic self, really my heart-centered self, being like giving and vulnerable, and being able to ask for what I need. Because oftentimes, I mean, if I asked for what I needed, I always got the answer no. So I stopped asking, you know. So one of the things that I work with my clients who are going through, you know, challenging times or finding themselves shut down and disconnected is, you know, are you asking for what you need? And what are the responses you're getting too? And how is that affecting if you ask again? So, you know, the other thing that you were talking about.
Hey, Debbie.
Yes.
I have actually a couple of comments that I'd like to share with you, because you brought up some things that really affected some people.
Okay. Love to hear it.
Okay. So let's see. The Mardine said, Jay said, thank you for sharing, and that he's feeling lighter. And that was right before, that was the meditation I did. But Jay actually was saying that he also is dealing with a transition, that he was, that he is working for someone, and that he knows that it's going to be closed down in the spring. And so he found some interest in what you were saying, because the journey, at least he knows way ahead of time. You knew it than just, you know, a very short period of time. But boy, is that scary. Thank you for sharing that, because I believe that there's things like this happening in our world right now with the coronavirus and things that are going on. And then we have so many things that people have been posting.
Can I just address the thing that Jay said?
Please do.
The thing that's really, really like exciting about that, right? Just kind of to like just shift the energy, right? The really exciting piece about that is because we have time to really think things out, because things are going at a lot slower pace, right? How exciting for us to be in this time right now, to be able to take our time to think real thoroughly. I mean, everybody's at home, so there's a lot of people that we can engage in conversation with, right? Seek out people who are wise counsel. Talk to people who have done it before us and get some of their input and their learn from their mistakes, their experiences, what worked for them, what didn't. Like, how exciting is it that we get to now sit and look at how can we do things differently and really like do what we're passionate about doing, rather than showing up for a job and picking up our paycheck on Friday. It's just really, it's so exciting.
That's what I was thinking too, because my background is a CPA, and there are big things happening in the office, and it's scary, but then it opens up new doors and new ways of thinking. And it sounds like Jay has been, he's like into the stuff we're talking about. I know Jay, I know you're connecting with what we're saying, because this is actually a new beginning.
Well, it gives us an opportunity.
Very much so.
Janet's adding in.
Yeah, I'm writing notes because there's so much connecting of the dots already. Yeah.
So Jay says, I am curious myself, because I was saying, this is interesting, Jay, that this is actually probably something really good going to be happening. And so he says, I am curious myself about my next life, what my next life will be. And then Mardine Gordon, she said, I was fired for the first time in my life on the same day I had an interview for a better job. If you just keep flowing with the universe, it's crazy how this happens. And then she said, I worked for that company for 8 years and increased my knowledge and skills to bring me to where I am today.
Yep.
So, Jay, do you have anything else to add to that? Because I bet you have tons of skills where you are starting to see where you can apply that. And then Kelly, you were talking about, Debbie, your relationship that was not working. And Kelly Fox said, yes, we have to start with ourselves. So you were speaking about that.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's really cool. As Maria was talking about the 100 things, I reached down into one of my drawers, and here's my list of 50 traits that I was looking for in a partner, and I whittled them down to 5. And so I had done this. I did this exercise when I was still married, right? As part of an assignment I got from my coach.
Oh my
And
gosh, Debbie.
I know, right? And so that was, I think I did that when I was 42, maybe. I'll be 57 next month. So I've had this for this many years. What's interesting is, you know, I got divorced, and then I was in another long-term relationship. And he didn't meet all these 5 things, right? There were some things, but he didn't meet all these 5 things.
Yeah.
So that was also an interesting kind of narcissistic relationship, which for some reason I was attracted back to, right? Because I must have had something else I needed to learn. But the interesting thing that I learned was in my marriage, he was an aggressive narcissist. This one was a passive one. It's the results are the same, but some of the feelings are a little bit different. And so being able to untangle those things in my own personal work was really super interesting. And the really amazing thing, the beautiful thing about all that is I now have a man who meets every single one of these 5 required things.
Woo-hoo!
I know, right? Like, he's amazing. Like, we have we've been together 3.5 years now, and I think there's only been one time that we've had like a fight, right? One time. Otherwise, things are so easy. We have amazing conversations, right? Like deep conversations, things about spirituality, things about relationship stuff. We talk about our kids. What do we want for our future? What do we not want? And it's just so exciting.
Yeah.
You know, I often say, oh my gosh, I wish I would have met you when I was 20, right? And saved myself all this time. However, like in our conversations, what we realized is even if we had met when we were 20, it probably wouldn't be the same because we're very different. You know, we learned so many things going either in and out of relationships, you know, marriages, dating, or friendships. Even if you're in the same relationship for a long period of time, right? My parents have been married 59 years. And, you know, there's a lot of, I know. That seems like a really long time.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Okay, so Debbie, is it okay if I add some more to the conversation?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. This is fun, isn't it?
Yes,
Hey, audience,
it's so much fun.
Are you having fun? Now,
I am.
Because Debbie, I know that your focus is going from one spot to the next, but this is like a wonderful free flow so that you get to hear what people are talking about and thinking about as you're sharing. I really do love the vulnerability you have coming in today.
Thank you.
So J.A. Smith said, this is my 4th or so life change, though I am less confident that this time things will be better. Jay, are you saying that you're less confident? Okay, I'm glad you're here, Jay, because I want you to feel that that frequency where you're at right now, and I want you to be able to leave here feeling what that frequency is. Debbie, did you want to say something to Jay about that?
Absolutely. I think it's a really great awareness that you're experiencing I don't know what that's going to be like. I think that that's really, really heartfelt, and it's very honest. And sometimes we got to go to that spot where we're not really sure to then be able to see things far more clearly. Because, you know, rather than like jumping from one thing to the next, you know, I would really invite you, Jay, to maybe take some time and write down what are some of your doubts. And then from that, what are some, you know, tap into the curiosity, like, you know, Janet was talking about. In those doubts, where are some of the opportunities and where are some of the possibilities for those things to be better than what you even imagine them to be?
Yeah, I've had that through my life too, where, you know, transitioning from being a CPA and people looking at me, because at this point I didn't know how to handle it, and they were saying, you wasted your time doing this.
Yeah.
And it's okay that they said that, because what's the truth is that some people really do feel that way. They feel like this is the direction I'm going, I'm working towards this, and they see a linear path. But I didn't know at this time that I was opening up something new, and I just knew that I was not happy with what I was doing, and I felt very, very depressed. So when people would say that, it hit me in my heart. So everybody out there listening right now, I want to make sure that you're really listening to what Debbie is talking about in this discussion, is that you're going to be okay.
Yes.
Keep feeling where your frequency is lifting up. Can I add some more, Debbie, from other people?
Oh, sure. Can I address one more thing with Jay?
Yes, you sure can.
I think one of the really great things is, you know, there's safety in knowing that you're uncertain. Like that's like, it's so okay. And Rhonda, when you were saying people were saying to you, you wasted your time, I think what's really important is to like have that safety bubble for yourself. Ask the people who are going to support your forward momentum. Don't ask people who you even have an inkling about are going to be naysayers. If this is something you're really committed to, even if you're uncertain, right? Get people on your team that are really going to support you in your forward momentum, because that is super important.
Yes. I would have said something different to them in this space, but I didn't have that space at that time. So the information you're giving is essential right now. As Kelly Sayer Fox said, I'm loving everything that Debbie is saying.
Thank you, Kelly.
Kelly, that's so sweet. Christy Corardi said, I had 80. So she must have had 80 jobs. And
oh, wow.
Christy, is that true? I can't wait to hear about that one. But she says that she's been with her husband for 31 years.
Yay, congratulations, Christy. That's awesome. That's so awesome.
Yeah, so much going on. So Debbie, where do you want to take this? I see some more stuff coming through, but yeah, keep on going, my friend. People are loving this stuff.
I know, it's so exciting, right? Like there's so much. And one of the things that I'm a really big proponent of is, you know, communication, having conversations, you know, thinking about all of the times that I didn't show up for myself and speak what I wanted, ask for what I need. And, you know, I'm still continuing to practice doing that. And, you know, every little bit counts. I was watching one of your interviews that you did the other day, and we're talking about not having fun. And one of the things that I believed was if I was responsible, I couldn't have too much fun, right? You were saying like, I've had enough fun on this vacation, I have to stop now, right?
I've only had so much fun, and that's as far as I'm supposed to. That's what life tells me.
No more, you're done. Well, yeah. I had that false belief for a very, very long time. And it's not until recently that I've allowed myself to have more fun. And so when I work with my clients, I, you know, help them tap into the fun, the creativity, the, you know, where is your line about what's responsible, what's irresponsible? And I think sometimes that, that takes a little bit of work and a little bit of shift as well. And, being accountable falls into that, right? Building your confidence around having fun. I think sometimes doing things that are fun and carefree actually help to build your confidence. When we're doing things that aren't in our comfort zone, to push a little bit harder. How do you feel in your body when you are doing that? Like physical activity, super important, right? It helps you stay in your body, helps you get back in your body.
Yeah.
It helps you learn to trust your body, which helps you trust yourself with your decisions and your confidence in building all of that up. And, and making transitions, making a transition takes a lot of courage. It takes confidence building. Transitions aren't easy, and there are a lot of risks that are involved in doing that. The really beautiful thing about that is what happens after you do it, right? Like, have you ever gone for a run and you went more distance than you've ever gone before, and you're like, oh my gosh, I did that, and I'm still breathing, I'm still upright, I didn't die. Holy mackerel, I can't believe I did that, right?
Yeah.
And then you do it again, and then again, and things start becoming more easy for you. So then new and exciting things start happening. Transitioning from one job to another, that's scary. It's risky. You said you gave up being a CPA. You give up that regular security, right? That knowing that the check's going to come, you're going to show up, but it's not fulfilling. It doesn't contribute to your vitality. You guys talked about vitality. Doesn't contribute to that at all, right? Just showing up for a job doesn't inspire you. It doesn't move you to do more, to be more, to get out there, to have fun, to be free, right? There's the freedom in that as well. I mean, being an entrepreneur isn't for everybody. It is for me. And so it's just really exciting. And I really applaud everyone who's making the decision to make a transition into something that's very, very different.
I love that. I was so scared when I transitioned out of being a CPA. It took me a year to be able to really do it. And
yeah.
So Kelly Sawyer Fox said, yes, I have learned from Debbie that things can come with ease.
Yes.
And Janet Caleri, thank you, Janet, Miss Expert today. She is actually in the community right now enjoying your conversation, Deb. And Janet Caleri is saying, I had the same belief about fun equals irresponsible. Tis why the curiosity is so workable. Curiosity.
Yeah. It's so workable. And the thing with curiosity, right? When you're just it's playful, it's having fun. I wish that I had that realization when my kids were growing up. I would have had so much more fun with them when they were growing up. And I never allowed myself to do that. I do it now though, and they're adults, and it actually, we just have a ball together. They're playful, and they're when they all come over, they're before this, of course, they come over and they banter and they talk about things, that they did when they were kids. And it's just so much fun. And it is so much ease when you allow yourself to just have fun and be playful. I have a friend who's a coach, and one of her things that I've learned from her is she would always say to me, you don't have to know everything, because perfection was one of my things. Because if I was not taking any risks, if I was being perfect, I couldn't be punished for doing something wrong, right? So if I stayed in the straight and narrow, if I was super duper responsible, if I didn't have too much fun and I stayed right here, there was no place for me to make any mistakes. And so my coaching friend Martha would always say to me, it's okay to be a beginner. So if you embark on things and allow yourself to be a beginner, there are no mistakes. You learn things along the way, and there's that ease, there's that grace, there's that playfulness that's allowed in there while you're doing your transitions, while you're doing something new. And it takes that that burden off, where I would feel like so weighed down and heavy. I don't know if other people have felt that before, but once you start letting go of that,
Yeah.
once you start letting go of that, you're like, why in the world, what purpose did that serve me? And then being able to like kind of dissect that, like, what did I get out of that? What was the lesson that I learned? And so when it shows up again, I can reflect back and say, oh, that's right. When I was doing this, I learned that, right? And especially now with the pandemic, right? There's a lot of things we don't have control over. And so I get to stand back and say, okay, I don't have control over this. What do I have control over? How I show up, how I feel, how I take care of myself, how I respond to other people. Am I being loving? Am I being kind? Am I being supportive? Am I, showing up to serve and honor other people's, growth and challenges? That's part of the reason why we decided to launch Authentic Friendships, is so that we could be available to serve women who were looking for new friendships, looking for connection, wanting to learn more about being friends. How do you talk to your friends? How do you value your friendships? How do you expand those things? I talked about this a little bit earlier about having conversations.
Yeah.
What's working in your friendships and what's not, and what's preventing you from having an honest conversation with your friend to express what's working, what's not working. How can we be better friends? Or do you want to be better friends, right? Mm-hmm. Like evaluating, is this a friendship that's even working? And starting to look at, are the people in your circle giving as much as they're taking, right? Now, not everybody in any of our relationships with anyone, right? There's usually a time where I require more than you might require, and you might be giving me more than I'm giving you. But it's about like the flow of the friendship and how that unravels. And it goes with, yes, you're going to say something? I saw your mouth move, Rhonda.
I have tons to say. Well, because Laura Kelchin came in, and Laura, we were discussing about perfectionism. You were talking about that because you being stuck in perfectionism. Laura Kelchin said, yes, like feeling of being stuck. So audience, please share with me your stories about perfectionism, because I believe that Debbie may have some good insight on this one, huh, Debbie?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Laura Kelchin also said, I just assumed everyone else knew how to be a friend, but I didn't.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? When you start looking at, Laura's a part of our Authentic Friendships group on Facebook. Thanks, Laura, for being here. I appreciate that. Sometimes we make the assumption, right, that people know how to be a friend. And some people don't, or they don't know how to be a good friend to us. And so it's up to us to share with them what we value, what we want, how we express ourselves in friendship. Those are all things that we get to look at, right? Making those assumptions, having expectations around how friends show up, when they do, when they don't. I have a friend who, she's just one who never makes the invite, right? I know if I want to see my friend, I'm going to have to be the one to make the invitation. And I adore her. I love spending time with her. And so I'm willing to do that for that friendship, because I'm still getting what I need out of it, even though I have to make the invite every time. You know, there are people I know who that's not okay with them. I remember when I was married, we had a couple that we were friends with. They were his friends. And she had this very strict rule that if they invited us over, we had to invite them over. Right? It had to always be this one for one. And she was like that with all of her friends, right? It had to be the one to one. It took all spontaneity out of the friendship, out of the get-togethers, right? Like I had to stop and think, oh my gosh, so did I invite them? Did I like it made it too hard. You know, I like friendships that are comfortable and easy. And I don't mean that, you know, it's just, let me say that differently. I like friendships that are with grace and ease, right? So that it just flows more naturally. And ultimately, those are the kind of relationships that I really appreciate as a whole in my life. And I know that that doesn't happen for everybody. I mean, let's face it, like conversations and relationships with family members aren't always like that. Yeah. You know, some of them are more challenging. You've got all those different personalities, all that history with people, right? All their judgments and their feelings about this, that, and the other thing. And oftentimes those go unresolved. And so, you know, a lot of times taking the, yes.
Do you feel Kelly is talking about something that also I think affects friendships, because she's talking about that I was so afraid. So Kelly, Sayer Fox said, I was so afraid of doing anything because I wouldn't do it perfectly. So I didn't do anything. And we were talking about perfectionism, and also we're talking about in relationships. So I've, even though Kelly, you're probably talking about just overall perfectionism, but I think that could be displayed even in relationships, because
absolutely
maybe you don't reach out, or you get pushed down because you can't be in the moment. So perfectionism is your, like, outside your body almost. Don't you think so, Debbie? Or what's your take on that? Because you're saying you're not doing this right, you're not doing that right, and it can really suffocate. And it can suffocate a relationship too.
Oh, absolutely. And that's how I felt in my previous relationships, because I felt like nothing I said was right. I remember journaling one day and I wrote, I'll never be pretty enough. I'll never be skinny enough. I'll never be fast enough. I'll never be strong enough. I'll never love enough. I'll never be generous enough. I just kept, it was one of those writing, right? Like you just do the brain dump, right? I kept writing. And that was part of my aha moment, right? Because it was like, oh my gosh, like I can't live not being enough this or that for the rest of my life. Like, can you see like my body, right? Like it was very compressing, right? And if you can't be perfect, because even if I said it perfect one day, if I said it the next day exactly the same way I said it the day before, it was wrong. Like, and so you're left confused with this whole thing. So you stop. You shut down emotionally, verbally, you know, every way, sexually, physically. It feels like there's nowhere to go. And I think perfectionism is like that. Like you've got nowhere to go. If you are holding yourself at such a high standard set by whoever, right? There's nowhere for you to go. And so I really want to encourage people, if you find yourself in that perfectionism place, what would it look like if you just, like, if you're in the box, like, what would it look like if those box walls, like just all fell down? Like what?
I felt like a meditation, Debbie. Didn't it, everyone? Didn't it feel? Because can we just hold that space for a moment?
Yeah.
Debbie, we have about 5 more minutes until we get to bring the experts back and talking about, you know, the relationships and perfectionism and the stuff that came through. We have Susan Tollefson here. J.A. Smith is still here. Laura Marie is watching, also through our Facebook group. Laura, I can't wait for your time coming up. Lori Ludwig Arnott Ludlow Arnott. And then, of course, Kelly has been giving some great insight. So Laura Kelchin said, for me, perfectionism equals protection and safety. Perfectionism keeps you small.
Yes. We didn't touch on safety very much today, but that's a huge area for me as well. And yes, Laura, absolutely, it keeps you safe. It keeps you it prevents you from getting hurt. It prevents you from succeeding. Like, it just keeps you in that very small box. Yeah. So I really love that visual that I like popped in my head as I was talking, like all the little sides falling down. It just feels so liberating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it really speaks to, like, you guys were talking about vitality.
Yeah.
And a year and a half ago, when I was at my mastermind group, one of my things was, I want optimum health and vitality. And I mean, like, having vitality, just like, it seems so expansive, right? It's just in so many different areas. And letting go of the perfectionism, right? And reaching out and communicating and being in community is all part of that vitality, right? Getting support, asking questions. You know, I recently did, I shared 5 tips, you know, for maintaining friendships during quarantine, right? Because it's tough. Yeah. And one of the things was, like, if you get an intuitive hit to reach out to a friend, do it. Just do it, because it's very likely that the person you are thinking of needs to hear whatever message you have for them. Whether you send them a text, or you call them, or you reach out to them on Facebook, or, you know, you pick up the phone and have a phone conversation. You know, I really want to encourage people to do that when you have those, you know, intuitive hits. It's really important, because you just don't know what that's going to open up for you as well.
Yeah. Susan Tollefson said, letting go of perfectionism is an act of love to yourself.
Yes, Susan. Yes. So exciting.
Yeah. I do really like to have that conversation about perfectionism. And I hope you're enjoying that part of it. It gets in the way of so many things, of moving forward in business, moving forward in walking out of the house, and having relationships that probably may not be serving you, or you serving yourself too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really want to encourage people who are experiencing, you know, loneliness or anxiety, because this, you know, that's all, there's a lot of that, and it's very, very real. You know, I really want to encourage people to reach out, you know, find communities that support you. Find a group that's just, I mean, if you like to play Scrabble, find a group that, an online group that plays Scrabble. You never know, like, what's going to unfold from there. One of the ladies who's in our Authentic Friendships group, we do like happy hour, and we do tea. And so we all just get on a Zoom. And one of the gals actually connected with another lady from the group, and she's helping her with her organizational skills. Like, I didn't know that was the kind of thing that was going to happen, right? But here, BJ lives in the LA area, and this other woman lives in a different part of the country. They connected online together, and they're helping one another and supporting one another and creating a new friendship, which is really like I feel like that's really that's the thing that inspired me to do it in the first place. I just want people to live their best lives. I want them to feel loved and cherished and honored and seen, right? And heard. Yeah. And I really want people to, have great relationships. I know for me, it's just been the biggest blessing for me. And I have never been happier in my life than I am right now. And I'm just really looking forward to, you know, being able to serve more expansively, to have more personal growth, and to really live my optimum health and vitality in my life. And, you know, it's just, Yeah, it's exciting. And I want that for everybody. I want everybody to have what it is their optimum life.
Yeah. I want to share some more stuff that's come through. And then I do want you to share how people can connect with you. And then we'll get into our symposium style, bringing the experts together to have this conversation as if we're at the kitchen table having these discussions. Great stuff, Debbie.
Thank you.
So Mardine Gordon said, in some cases, striving for perfectionism is a good thing when the quality of your work requires attention to detail. I know there's like there's this balance of something that doesn't freeze you, but then it helps you move in a way that you are seeing the beauty of what you do.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, Kelly Sawyer Fox said, I love participating in our friendship group. Laura, it just disappeared. I'm going to look right here. That Kelly Sawyer Fox, vitality is such a great word.
Mm-hmm.
I like that word. Yeah, I do know some more stuff came through. Kelly Sawyer Fox, I have reached out to friends and have had friends reach out to me. It has always been so amazing. Oh, J.A. Smith, how do you know when you should continue with the relationship or let it go? Jay, I'm going to add that into the group because we need to talk about that in our symposium. Let's make sure we discuss that. Sabina says, I love the concept of authentic friendship groups. How do you build that? So, oh my gosh, we have so much stuff. So Debbie, it sounds like you have some stuff you can communicate in the group, and we'll see how it goes in our symposium style. Before we open up the symposium style, everyone, thank you for your questions. Keep asking stuff because there's more to be coming. Where can people meet up with you? We want to make sure that I'm seeing all these people connecting.
I know, I love it. Isn't it fabulous?
Yes.
Awesome. So I actually have a personal website. It's debbieternes.com. I also have Facebook and Instagram under my name as well, Debbie Ternes. I also am the co-founder of the Authentic Friendships group on Facebook. So if that interests you, please just go. It's called Authentic Friendships. We also have an Authentic Friendships website. It's authenticfriendships.com. And there you'll find out more information about myself and my co-founder, Sherry Peterson. And, we have workshops, we have programs that will support you in building your friendships, assessing your friendships, how to find new friendships. And in the Authentic Friendships group, it's a lot about connecting and, building new friendships and community. So thank you, Rhonda.
When you get a moment, when you transition and our next expert comes in, make sure you put that in our stream we have going.
Yes,
we already
definitely.
have 75 comments, everyone, and so Debbie, I think people in our community are really learning to speak their vocals because we're already at 75 comments. So Debbie, you have a lot of interaction here, so make sure that you put your information in. I do, everyone coming in for our symposium now, Janet, Maria, I think Laura is getting ready with her horses because she's going to be in an hour. Maria is coming up in about 10 minutes. But in our symposium discussion here, I do want you to share, Janet, Maria, and Debbie, and of course I want to add in too, about like what you got out of this time as Debbie was going through her journey and talking about friendship and perfectionism. And Jay said, thank you. He brought in another thing. So if we get into this, I want to make sure we talk about when do you know to let a friendship go or to keep a friendship, or it might even be within yourself that you're feeling that you need to have some healing. So everybody, I want to first start off with telling you, Debbie, that let's start the symposium by sharing some of the results that we got while you were here. Janet, what did you want to add in about like your time with Debbie and learning more about her space?
Well, thank you, Debbie. So many things you said resonated for me personally and professionally. Of course, everything you said about curiosity I just cannot drive that home to
I
people
know,
how
right?
important it is. And I loved that you brought up, if you get an intuitive hit about a friend, reach out to them. And my God, if a friend keeps popping up in my head, like for a week or two straight, something's up, and it's always true. And now, and I want to speak to this because there's this saying, check on your strong friends. Check on your strong friends. And I'm one of the strong friends, and there are people who just assume that I'm okay. And I love when my friends check in on me, because I'm vulnerable too, and I need help too. And that intuition is so true. It's like, oh, and just especially now, because people are feeling isolated, and just pick up the phone or even send a text. It's really important for us to know that we're not alone, to know that we have community, and that we're all going through a similar experience. I mean, we all have our own interpersonal experience with the backdrop of a similar pandemic, and I really loved that you said that. So thumbs up, yes. Intuition, call a friend.
And Debbie, you bringing up, and then the community really holding that space. There was a lot of conversation about perfectionism. And I remember being afraid to walk out my door. So in my family, we have the agoraphobia, and it has to do around perfectionism too. Like for me, I didn't like how I looked, and it started about 9th grade, and I was afraid to walk out the door. And I could walk out the door to go to school because I knew that I was safe in the space, but it overall was, I wasn't feeling good about myself because I was expecting something bigger of myself that I wasn't stepping into, and I was tearing myself up. And so I found the perfectionism part to be real powerful. In relationships too, I've had to work on that, because that was something I would so want to tear up all the time. Because what Laura brought up, Marie, she said that Debbie helped me realize that I don't have to expect myself or my friendships to be perfect. Mm-hmm. Maria, do you have something to add into Debbie's discussion today?
Yeah, I love, Debbie, how it was such a concrete examples from sharing your life, but also the work you do. And I would love to give a new perspective on this, because that's what I do. I'm a sociologist. I always, I think the majority of our population are living in the paradigm of pain, and fear, in suffering. Mm-hmm. And you described how that was the abusive relationship you were living in, and somehow it becomes the norm, the reality for people. And something I've been helping, so what I used to do once upon a time was actually helping clients jumping from that paradigm to the next paradigm, which is all about pleasure abundance, where we become conscious. Like here in this pain paradigm, people are not yet conscious, they are not taking responsibility for their life, so they're being more of reaction mode. And yep. Then in other, we have the proactiveness, we have the consciousness, the curiosity, the question, like the mystery, and also knowing that I can manifest exactly everything I want in my life. Yeah. And there was a question like what to do, like how to know if you should stay or go. I think this is like a good pinpointing to that, because people that live in this fear and pain, they don't have the ability to check in with themselves, because they haven't been conscious about their feelings and how their own energy and how it's feeling. But when you have this understanding, there is like, yes, I'm striving for curiosity, I'm striving for pleasure, more connection, community building, nourishing friendship, well, then you start to be able to feel, this relationship, this lunch break I had with this person, did it give me energy or did it drain me?
Yeah.
And I think that is the
That's-
good signal and feedback if people should stay in your life or go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Janet's agreeing. What are you saying, Janet?
Well, that's for Jay Smith, his question, right? Like, am I feeling energetic and filled, or am I feeling drained? So that's one answer to that question of how do I know when to stay or go from a relationship?
And you know, some people who are living in this paradigm, right? They want to be confirmed and seen in their pain, right? Because that's giving them energy. So they are really happy to be surrounded by those people. So at the same time, you start to pinpoint them. So, which can be one way of saying, like, can I say stop? I have a question. Like, so do you have a turn on drama and trauma in your life? That was something I was quite recently asking a friend of mine. And she said, no, but I'm just telling stories. Well, your stories are always having a drama and trauma. I do think you have a turn on drama and trauma, right? And of course, that becomes it becomes such an eye opener for her that, okay, so now we have to change the conversation with me, right? Or it's naturally, it will just, we will, you know, maybe sometimes you don't have to say things to people, they understand themselves.
That's
You know what I love about what Maria's saying about the suffering piece?
Mm-hmm.
Because I also had like this false belief that there's the good with the bad, right? And you got to work through the bad part. And so suffering then became like a part of how you just be a grown-up in a marriage, right? You don't have to suffer. Like, suffering is not part of that. So that was part of my work and my own personal transition too, Maria. So I really appreciate you saying that, because I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah, I've been there myself. I mean, I when I was new in business, like, I was driven myself out of pain because I learned from Tony Robbins. There's two drive forces in your life, pain or pleasure. I realized, actually pain is good. So I just was throwing myself in a painful financial situation in order to push myself making more money. So I was like operating from this masculine, like, that was, of course I was making money, but it wasn't good for me, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't
So it's,
favorable.
and then transition through a long journey I'm talking about later into this abundance paradigm, like everything is available.
Oh, yes, Maria.
There's the juiciness here.
I love that you brought that up, because I bet you're going to be talking somewhat about that through the conscious love that we're going to be transitioning into. Thank you, ladies. And Maria, actually, not Maria, but Laura Marie is in our community and she's interacting. And so, Laura, I'm so glad you brought that up about how Debbie did help you with, because we get so hard on ourselves about that we have to be perfect in our friendships. And then when we don't show it the way that we want it to, we can easily pull ourselves away from the friendship because of the embarrassment of it.
Yes.
Because we're telling ourselves that we have to be perfect. So there's many layers that came with that, Debbie.
Yeah.
I like to say that I'm perfectly imperfect and imperfectly perfect. And that's really helpful to get me into self-compassion.
Oh, I love that.
That's really great, Janet.
Well, Susan Tollefson, who is a productivity coach, I love her. She said, Debbie, love that you're sharing your brilliance with us.
Oh, you know, Susan and I go way back to the 80s when we used to work together in corporate.
No way. No way, this is awesome. See,
And
this
we reconnected last year when I met you. Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Oh, Debbie, thank you for being with us. Anything else you want to say? There's some comments that did not get addressed, so thank you, audience. But you go in there and make sure that you get your information because people are definitely asking about that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just so honored to be a part of all of this. Thank you, everybody.
Fresh inspiration.